My earliest memories always begin in the same place, our cramped kitchen, age 8, watching Mom cry over bills scattered across the yellow Formica countertop. The harsh fluorescent light made the past due stamps glow like warnings, while Dad's muddy work boots left trails across the linoleum. He'd just come home from another failed job interview, the smell of cheap coffee still clinging to him. "We'll figure it out, Marie," he'd say, his voice heavy with defeat. On the floor, my 5-year-old brother Tommy played with his battered secondhand toys, blissfully unaware of the weight pressing down on the rest of us. That was 20 years ago. Now, at 28, I sometimes wish I could go back to being that naive little girl who didn't know what red stamps meant. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and this is the story of how I lost everything trying to give my family the life I thought they deserved. The turning point came when I was 16. Dad's back injury forced him out of construction work for good, and Mom's part-time job at the diner barely covered groceries. I still remember walking into the principal's office to ask for a schedule change so I could work afternoons at Miller's hardware store. Mrs. Peterson gave me a look so full of pity, it made my stomach twist. "Sarah, you're one of our brightest students. Are you sure about this?" I was sure. School came easily to me. I could keep my grades up even with less time in class. Tommy, starting middle school, needed clothes, supplies, and the asthma medication our insurance barely covered. Someone had to step up, and it wasn't going to be my little brother. "He's sensitive," Mom would say when I complained about Tommy skipping chores or blowing money on art supplies. "He's got a creative soul. We need to nurture that." By 18, I was working 2 jobs and taking online college courses. Days at the hardware store, nights waitressing, and studying in between. My parents beamed when I got promoted to assistant manager, but their pride didn't stop the constant asks for more money. "Tommy needs new art supplies," Mom would say. "He has so much potential." One sweltering summer evening, I came home from a double shift to find Tommy sprawled across our new couch. One I'd helped pay for, surrounded by expensive sketching pencils and a pristine leather-bound sketchbook. "Hey sis," he grinned, holding up his latest drawing. "What do you think? My teacher says I could really make it big someday." His drawing was good, as always, but my eyes locked on the price tag still attached to the sketchbook, $75, nearly a full day's wages for me. "Mom," I called out, trying to keep calm. "Can we talk about the art supplies?" She appeared in the doorway, wiping her hands on her apron. Even at 45, she was beautiful, though the worry lines etched around her eyes told the story of her life. "Isn't it wonderful?" she gushed. "His teacher says he might even get a scholarship." "Mom, we agreed to stick to the budget." "You don't believe in your brother's dreams." Her voice took on that familiar guilt-laden edge. "He needs proper materials to develop his talent. You want him to succeed, don't you?" And just like that, I caved. I always caved. That night, sitting at my tiny desk, surrounded by overdue bills and budget spreadsheets, I made a decision. I'd take out a loan to buy the house for my parents. My credit was excellent, and it would give them financial breathing room. After all, I was already covering most of the mortgage. They accepted with tears of gratitude. Tommy called me the best sister ever. The paperwork was signed, and at 23, I became the official owner of our family home. Looking back, I should have noticed the red flags. The way Mom started insisting on getting the mail before me, the whispered conversations that stopped when I walked into the room, Tommy's endless supply of new materials despite our strict budget. But I was too focused on holding us all together to see the cracks spreading beneath my feet. The storm brewing in the distance would soon shatter everything I'd worked so hard to build. The first sign that something was wrong came on a crisp autumn morning. I was at work organizing the new power tool display at Miller's when my phone buzzed with a text from our neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez. "Sarah, honey, is everything okay? There are some people looking around your house with clipboards. They're taking pictures." My stomach dropped. Inspections? I hadn't scheduled anything. I called home, but no one answered. That wasn't normal. Mom should have been home watching her soap operas, and Dad rarely ventured out except for his doctor's appointments. I mumbled some excuse to my manager and left, gripping the steering wheel tightly as I drove home. When I pulled up, an unfamiliar SUV was parked in our cracked driveway alongside a sleek black Mercedes. A woman in a sharp blazer stood on the porch, measuring it with a tape. "Excuse me," I called out, trying to mask my growing panic. "Can I help you?" She turned with a professional smile, clipboard in hand. You must be Sarah. Your parents mentioned you. I'm Linda Matthews from Prestige Realty. I must say, this property has incredible potential. With some updates, it'll sell above market value. Her words struck like a slap. Sell my house. There's a mistake, I said firmly. This house isn't for sale. Linda's smile faltered. I'm sorry, but Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell signed the listing agreement this morning. Your brother Tommy was here too, charming young man, very talented artist. They said you'd be moving out soon. I didn't wait for her to finish. Heart pounding, I unlocked the front door and called for my parents. The house was eerily quiet. But it wasn't just the silence that unsettled me, things were missing. Family photos were gone. The antique vase my grandmother left me was no longer by the window, and the drawers in the kitchen hung half open. My phone buzzed. Tommy's name lit up the screen. Hey sis, he greeted cheerfully. I guess you met Linda. Mom and Dad are here at my new studio. You've got to see it. It's amazing. Studio? My voice was tight. What studio, Tommy? What's going on? He chuckled, the carefree kind that had always gotten him out of trouble. You're gonna love this. Remember that art competition I entered? A gallery owner saw my work and offered me a space in his building. Real professional setup, Sarah. Mom and Dad helped with the deposit. The words felt like a punch to the gut. Helped with the deposit? With what money, Tommy? There was a pause before he spoke again, his tone suddenly cautious. Well, Mom said you're doing great at the hardware store, and the house is worth so much more now. I didn't let him finish. Where's Mom? Put her on the phone. Muffled voices, then Mom's overly sweet tone. Sarah, sweetie, we were going to tell you tonight over dinner. It's just such an incredible opportunity for Tommy. The gallery owner says he has real potential. We just needed some capital to get him started, and since the housing market is so hot right now. The house is in my name, I interrupted, voice shaking. You can't sell it. Check your emails, honey, Mom said softly. Remember those papers we had you sign last month? For the property tax assessment. Dread pulled in my stomach as I opened my laptop. Buried in my inbox was the email she'd mentioned. But the papers weren't about taxes. They were a transfer of deed. I'd signed the house back over to them without realizing it. They'd slipped it into a stack of documents, counting on my trust and my exhaustion to do the rest. We're doing this for Tommy, Mom continued as I sat frozen. He needs this chance. You've always been the strong one, Sarah. You'll land on your feet. Her words echoed as I stared at the screen. Strong, responsible, the daughter who always picked up the pieces. And where am I supposed to live? I asked quietly. Oh, Linda knows some lovely apartments. Perfect for a single person, very affordable on your salary. Will help you move, of course. Help me move. Out of my own house. The one I bought, maintained, and sacrificed everything for. I heard Tommy in the background, talking about new equipment he was buying for his studio. Mom quickly ended the call, promising to explain everything at dinner. But I already understood perfectly. I sat at the kitchen table for hours, the familiar creak of the chair beneath me grounding me as my world unraveled. This was where I planned budgets, paid bills, and dreamed of a future that no longer existed. Slowly, I stood and walked through the house. Each room held memories. The railing I'd installed for Dad, the walls I painted over after Tommy's art projects, the leaky faucet I fixed last month. It was mine. It had always been mine, but it never really was. That night, I made 3 calls. First to a lawyer, second to my bank, and third to Miller's Hardware, where I submitted my 2 weeks' notice. If my family thought I'd roll over and accept their betrayal, they were about to learn just how responsible I could be. The next morning, I walked into Jenkins and Associates with a folder packed tight. Receipts for every bill I paid, repair invoices, and bank statements tracing every dollar I'd sent to my parents over the years. Evidence I kept out of habit, never imagining I'd need it to prove my own family had betrayed me. Linda Jenkins, my lawyer, slid the transfer of deed under her glasses, her expression sharp. This is blatant fraud. They intentionally misled you into signing these documents. We'll contest it. And contest it we did. That evening, instead of sitting down for their celebratory dinner, they were served legal papers. Tommy's panicked voicemail came first. Sarah, what are you doing? The gallery lease is signed. I need that money. Mom's text followed, full of guilt-laden fury. How could you do this to your own brother? After everything we sacrificed for you? Sacrificed. That word twisted something deep in my chest. Sacrifices they'd made for me? Right. Dad took a different route, cornering me at Miller's during my shift. Princess, he said, using the nickname I hadn't heard since I was 10, let's talk this through. We're family. We can work something out. I looked at him, really looked at him. My father, once larger than life, the man who taught me to ride a bike and always smelled of motor oil and safety. Now he stood before me, justifying how they'd taken everything I worked for. You're right, Dad, I said quietly, my voice steady. We are family, and that's exactly why this hurts so much. The legal battle stretched on for 3 months. 3 months of ignored calls, cold stares, and whispered accusations that I was ruining the family. Tommy's gallery plans crumbled when the funds were frozen in escrow, and Mom didn't hesitate to paint me as the villain to anyone who'd listen. But the truth was on my side. Bank statements proved years of mortgage payments. Emails documented repairs I had paid for. Witnesses like Mrs. Rodriguez confirmed how I'd maintained the house while my parents and Tommy indulged in their dreams. The final hearing landed on a biting February morning. I sat on one side of the courtroom, calm and resolute. Across the aisle, Mom dabbed tears theatrically while Tommy avoided my gaze. Dad stared at the table like it could somehow save him. The ruling was swift and definitive. The deed transfer was void. The house remained mine. On top of that, the court ordered my parents to repay every documented expense I'd covered over the years. Mom's gasp at the number echoed through the courtroom. But we don't have that kind of money, she blurted. Then you'll need to sell the house, my lawyer replied evenly. Poetic justice never tasted so bittersweet. Outside, Tommy approached me, his hands shoved deep into his pockets. I'm sorry, he mumbled. I didn't realize how much you'd given up. I just thought. That was the problem, Tommy, I said, cutting him off. You never had to think about it. That was always my job. 2 months later, I sold the house, not to Linda Matthews, but to a young family who reminded me of what we used to be, hardworking, hopeful, unbroken. I ignored the high-dollar offers and gave them a fair deal instead. Mom and Dad moved into a small apartment across town. The gallery owner backed out once he learned of the legal drama, leaving Tommy to take his first real job at a coffee shop. Mom hasn't spoken to me since, and Dad only sends the occasional text on holidays. As for me, I took my share of the sale and finally finished my business degree. I quit Miller's and started a consulting firm to help people avoid the financial mistakes I made. My new apartment might be small, but it's mine, every single corner of it. Last week, I ran into Mrs. Rodriguez at the store. She gave me one of her signature hugs and asked if I regretted fighting my family. No, I said honestly, surprising even myself. I just regret waiting so long. She smiled knowingly. You were always the umbrella of Sarah, shielding them from the storm while you got soaked. It's good to see you finally stepping out of the rain. She was right. I'd spent my whole life being their umbrella. Now I was learning to dance in the rain. Yesterday, I got a letter from Tommy. Inside was an old sketch of me standing at the kitchen counter, calculator in hand, surrounded by bills. He'd written underneath, I'm sorry I took your shelter. Someday, I hope you'll help me learn how to build my own. Maybe someday I will, but for now, I'm focused on building something else. A life where love doesn't mean losing myself. A life where responsibility doesn't mean sacrifice. A life that, for the first time, feels completely, unapologetically mine.